Hello, welcome to Social Perspective. Today we have many articles related to state intervention for underprivileged. In the first article, it is said center lists food schemes for migrant laborers. State responsible for distributions is central government. It says the responsibility to distribute food grains lies with the states. Union of India is committed to making sufficient food grains available to the states at highly subsidized prices under the above schemes to tide over the difficulty of food security during the current crisis. Now, why the state intervention is needed to the underprivileged or to the depressed in this crisis situation in social perspective? In this article, we have seen it is state's responsibility to come into the rescue of underprivileged. But why exactly in social perspective? It is not just the state has responsibility to lift them from economic crisis or to help them in distress situation. In social perspective, some other purpose must be served for state intervention. Let us see it in written articles. Here again in this article, it is said Karnataka to give 1 lakh to BPL below poverty line COVID-19 victims' families. We come to the question why state intervention is needed. Why Karnataka government is giving 1 lakh to BPL victims' families, COVID victims' families. In the next article, again, it is said free daytime power supply to agri feeders from Kharif. Nearly 1700 crores spent on augmenting the infrastructure. Why daytime power supply to agri feeders? Why state must give them power supply for free? Why only state is coming to the rescue of the underprivileged or the rescue of those in distress situation? Why not others? Even if others are coming, why state intervention is so much necessary? If we analyze that aspect in social perspective, this kind of analysis we have done already in the earlier episodes, but here again we try to analyze it again. Why state and support is needed to underprivileged in the Karl Marx perspective? In the absence of state support, or in the absence of some kind of compromise with the distressed or underprivileged, that situation leads to exploitation of the underprivileged by the have class. Karl Marx divided the society into two classes, that is have class and the have not class. Now the distressed communities or the underprivileged can be termed as have not class by the Karl Marx, and Karl Marx says the have class, those who are at the better of positions, are exploiting the have not class, that is underprivileged. In this situation, the farmers or the migrant laborers, or here BPL COVID-19 victims families, etc. Hence, that kind of exploitation leads to polarization in the society in the perspective of Karl Marx. That polarization turns class in itself to class for itself. That means some kind of solidarity emerges among the underprivileged. Every underprivileged individual recognizes the other individual as being in the same distress situation, and he comes in consensus with the underprivileged individual to revolt against the exploiting class, that means have class. That kind of uh, events will lead to social conflict, says Karl Marx. Now, in the Durkheim perspective, in the absence of state intervention to the underprivileged, it leads to inequalities, that means external inequalities. Durkheim divides inequalities into two types. They are natural and external. Natural inequalities are something given by birth, it cannot be easily restored, whereas external inequalities are created by the social structure, economic structure, political structure, that means which are factors which are external to the individual. This kind of inequalities must be restored and must be addressed according to that time, because in the absence of addressing such inequalities, it leads to frustration with society. Those individuals who are underprivileged and are distressed will develop a kind of frustration among themselves with the society, and they get alienated from the society. It develops a sense of rancor among the individuals in the society that undermines solidarity, says Durkheim. Now, in the perspective of Parsons, it leads to change in the direction of flow of energy and information control, and hence it leads to social change, says Talcott Parsons. This Talcott Parsons perspective, particularly, we will analyze further in this episode. Hence, moving on to Max Weber. Max Weber says it leads to, in the absence of state intervention, it leads to dissatisfaction with his class, and that result in strikes, protests, etc., which results in social unrest ultimately. R.K. Martin says absence of state intervention gives rise to a situation wherein there is unequal emphasis to cultural goals and institutional means. Cultural goals is nothing but taking everyone on par in the development path, inclusion of every community or every society into the development process. And institutional means is nothing but welfare activities like several schemes, National Food Security Act, or One Nation One Ration Card scheme, or this PM Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme, etc. All these are institutional means. These institutional means are required to realize cultural goals. That means inclusion of every community in the development process. In the absence of such institutional means or such state intervention to the underprivileged, it leads to unequal emphasis to cultural goals and institutional means. That means more emphasis is there on cultural goals, whereas less emphasis there is will be there on institutional means. Such kind of situation will lead to state anomalies, says R.K. Merton, and it leads to deviance in the society. That means individuals may try to deviate from their path and may turn as antisocial elements. This we have seen in various kind of activities like drug mafia, illegal trafficking, etc. Even petty burglary, pickpocketing, etc. also emerges from the deviance of individuals in the society due to absence of state intervention if we deeply analyze. Now, I've told we'll analyze Parsons' perspective in little deeper. Parsons says there are functional prerequisites in the society, and he says he talks about agile function. One is adaptation, goal attainment, integration, and latency. He says economic system leads to adaptation in the society. How economic system tries to obtain resources and distribute those resources among different individuals in the community. In the absence of any kind of balance in obtaining of resources or equitable distribution of those resources in the community, it leads to adaptation of such situation by the society. In this particular examples, if we see centralist food schemes for migrant laborers, central government is obtaining food grains from through Food Corporation of India from farmers. Now, this has resulted in obtaining of resources. Now, these resources must be equitably distributed among all the needy in the country. Otherwise, it leads to unequitable distribution and it leads to adaptation of such situation by the society. Such adaptation will lead to unequal progress in the society. Here also, 1 lakh to BPL COVID-19 victims' families. Why? Obtaining of resources has been already done in the form of collection of taxes. Now the taxes must be equitably redistributed among all the needy in the society. Now, as the BPL COVID-19 victims' families are the needy in this situation, they are they rightfully deserve the taxed money as the government is purposed to be distribute those collected resources. Otherwise, try to adapt to the situation and it leads to distress situation in the society. Because such kind of adaptation often results against the society in the form of social unrest or antisocial elements. Here again, free data and power supply to agri feeders from Kharif EFC spent on augmenting the infrastructure. We have seen governments augmenting infrastructure for capitalists or for IT, or we have seen governments laying roads for improving connectivity or for big ticket projects, etc. Now, all that government is doing as it has enough resources with it, or it is acquiring loans from World Bank or any other external sources, and it is doing such activities. That means obtaining of resources is being done, and distribution of resources is being done in the form of these big ticket projects like laying infrastructure. We have also seen national infrastructure pipeline for energy, roads, railways, etc. Now, if that same government is not coming to the rescue of farmers when they are in needy and not developing their agri-related infrastructure, it leads to unequitable distribution of resources, and it results in adaptation of farmers to such situation, and and that adaptation is negative adaptation and leads to distress in the society. Hence, economic system is crucial player in adaptation of individuals. Political system, if we see, political system always tries to attain goals. That means what are political systems goals? Inclusion of every community in the development process, uh, bringing every individual out of poverty, out of distress, coming to the rescue of individuals in times of crisis, etc. All these are goals of political system. Hence, political system always tries to attain these goals through various schemes like National Food Security Act. We have seen these giving out doles like 1 lakh to COVID-19 families, etc. This free time power supply, all these are institutional means to attain goals by the political system. Now, social system tries to integrate individuals into the society. This is irrelevant in this aspect. Cultural system always addresses the latency aspect. This is also irrelevant in today's episode. If we move on further, Parsons' social system and cybernetic hierarchy discusses four systems mainly. One is cultural system, which is storehouse of information, Parsons says. The second system is social system. Here, actual interaction takes place. The third system is personality system. This is storehouse of motivation, says Parsons. Parsons. Fourth one is organismic system. This is storehouse of energy. Now, Parsons' organismic system and his drawing parallels to the organism to the society has drawn severe criticism, and hence Parsons himself withdrew this organismic system in his later writings after criticism. Hence, in his later writings, only three kinds of systems could be seen. However, if we analyze organismic system, it is a storehouse of energy, says Parsons. Now, Parsons says energy flows from this organismic system to cultural system always, and information flows from this cultural system to organismic system always. Now, if at any time this flow of direction of energy and information has been altered, that means energy, instead of flowing from organismic system to cultural system, if it flows from cultural system to organismic system, and the same with information, it results in social change, says Talcott Parsons. Now, to restore that social change, socialization and social control are required. If we analyze this particular example in this social system and cybernetic hierarchy, we have seen distress or rancor against the government or helplessness. All these are elements of organismic system. That means it is storehouse of negative energy. That means this distress and this rancor or helplessness have been among the individuals because of COVID-19 crisis or because of lack of state intervention in time. Now, if this distress, if this rancor, if this helplessness gets seeped into personality system or social system, and it ultimately becomes as a cultural aspect of the society, that means if distress or rancor or helplessness becomes a cultural aspect of Indian society, it results in social change. Hence, governments and many other players in the society always try to restore that social change or to prevent that kind of social change. They always try to deter that distress situation becoming as cultural aspect of the society. How do they restore that? How do they hinder that process of that distress situation getting seeped as or getting reflected as cultural aspect in the society? That is through socialization and through social control. Socialization is nothing but imbibing values, norms, morals, etc. This is irrelevant here. Social control is nothing but enforcement of law, police action, etc. We have seen here centralized food schemes for migrant laborers. These food schemes is enforcement of law. One nation, one ration card scheme is against enforcement of law. Karnataka is trying to give 1 lakh to BPL COVID-19 victims' families. This is in line with Karnataka government's policy for COVID-19 victims' families. That is again enforcement of law. Here, free daytime power supply to agri feeders from Kharif. 1700 crores spent on augmenting the infrastructure. This is again state policy of Andhra Pradesh. Hence, this is again enforcement of law. Pradhan Mantri Kisan scheme, Andhra Pradesh government's Raitu Bharosa scheme, Telangana government's Raitu Bharosa scheme, and other Odisha government's Karya scheme, etc. All such schemes are state policies to restore social change or to deter social change through social control. While enforcing those laws, governments are trying to control the society, and they're trying to prevent social change in the society. They do not want to get the distress or farmer suicides or helplessness among individuals to be reflected as cultural aspect. They do not want to uh, they do not want to see that flow of energy from organismic system to cultural system. Hence, they try to prevent such flow of energy and information in both the ways. That's all in this article. If we try to analyze in Parsons' perspective, as today many articles, nearly 3-4 articles have been in relation to social state intervention for the underprivileged. We have discussed this in detail in all the thinkers' perspectives, and also tried to discuss in particular in Parsons' perspective in the form of functional prerequisites and cybernetic hierarchy of social control. Moving on to the next. Here we have seen there is another article saying farming against odds. Now this is, as this is reflected in the Andhra Pradesh edition, I have not discussed this earlier. Here it provides a classic example of what happens if state intervention is not timely. This article says, in spite of good rain forecast, non-payment of government benefits and bank credit in time and COVID-19 situation are not helping the farmers' cause. That means farmers are going into distress situation. And that is fine. In spite of good rain forecast, that means environmental factor is there. This environmental factor helps in social mobility. That means upward mobility. Because of that good forecast, good rain forecast, farmers had the scope to move upward social ladder and increase their social status by earning profits. However, because of the non-payment of government benefits and bank credit in time, and also COVID-19 situation, which is some external factor, farmers are unable to move up the ladder in their social mobility or social status. That's why state intervention is needed, not only to deter social change, also to enable underprivileged to move up their ladder in their social status. This becomes relevant in the second paper, social mobility chapter. And also, what all we have discussed become relevant in the first paper in the fourth chapter, that is sociological thinkers. Moving on to the next article. In this article, it is said one nation, one ration card scheme is tailor-made for migrants. It says the One Nation One Ration Card (ONORC) scheme makes food security portable and is tailor-made for migrant laborers. One Nation One Ration Card plan aims to empower all National Food Security Act migrant beneficiaries to access food grains from any fair price shop of their choice anywhere in the country by using their same or existing ration card with biometric authentication. This article further says 86% NFSA population in the country were swiftly brought under the ONORC plan by December 2020. The effort was to ensure that migrant workers and their families got assured access to nutrition via national portability of ration cards under the Food Security Act. Now, this article becomes very much relevant in rural and social transformation in the second paper. That means in the second paper, we have a topic in the part C of the syllabus, that is social changes in India. In the second unit of part C, rural and agrarian transformation of India is there. Transformation in India is there. In that chapter, this article becomes very much relevant, and this example can be quoted in an exam. Then now that's all for today. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to Social Perspective. Thank you. Have a nice day.